Yeah, a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you again for taking out the time and joining us for today's webinar. I am Nikhil Kolse-Patil. I'm part of the Asia Let's Partnership Secretariat team. In today's webinar, we'll focus on looking at work that has been done in Nepal and also how we have collaborated with Nepal. And we will also be looking at an exciting new platform called the Clean Power Hub. We would also be engaging in getting your inputs and feedback on a few topics and plans for this community of practice. I now hand over to my colleague Anandan. Anandan, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Hello, everyone. Welcome you all for today's session. So myself, Anandan, representing Asia Let's Partnership. I'm supporting to manage various thematic communities of practice in the Asia region. Ritvik, next slide, please. Okay, this session is organized by as part of Energy Communities of Practice of the Asia Let's Partnership. Here is the quick agenda for today. We have an introduction and recap of activities carried out under the Energy Communities of Practice in 2020. Followed that, we have Dr. Ram from Nepal Electricity Regulatory Commission, who will present on the lessons and experiences based on the technical assistance received from the Asia Let's Partnership with support from NREL. We will have Lara presenting on the priority topics for 2021 and receive feedbacks from all of you. Followed by that, we will have Propel Clean Energy team who will walk us through the Clean Power Hub platform. Then we will have a discussion around the topics discussed today and the way forward. Next. Okay, we would like to share a quick recap of the Asia Leads Partnership Energy Communities of Practice and the activities carried out in 2020. Next. So Asia Leads Partnership, short background, it's a voluntary regional network promoting low emission development strategies in the Asia region. We help the Asian countries to advance climate change goals, including NDCs, all of that. It fosters capacity building and brings about collaboration and partnership among members and practitioners, experts. ALP launched the Energy Communities of Practice back in 2018. COP Communities of Practice is meant to help sustain the learning and peer-to-peer knowledge exchange on priority topics identified by the members. So it provides tools, access to tools, resource materials. We organize online sessions, in-person events. Participants also get, the countries also get no-cost technical assistance. So initially the focus was on grid integration and grid on the grid RE development and RE grid integration. In 2019-20, the focus was on energy storage and long-term strategies for power sector transformation. So currently, the COP has more than 60 participants from 11 countries, around 10 online sessions, and more than 5 in-person sessions have been organized so far under this communities of practice. If any of you is new to the COP and to join, you can join using the sign up link given here. We will share the slide deck later with the participants. Next. Yeah. So in 2020, webinars were organized on the identified priority topics, that is on energy storage and economic recovery and long-term visioning for power sector transformation. We also had an online session where Bangladesh shared lessons from the country's climate smart energy development planning with larger COP members. Next. So as I said, technical assistance is being offered to developing countries in the Asia region. Nepal representatives attended one of the previous webinars organized by ALP on this economic recovery and long-term visioning for power sector transformation. Followed by that, we received a technical assistance request from Nepal regarding power sector planning and visioning. With the support of NREL experts, technical assistance was provided. Closed group training sessions were organized in October this year to share knowledge about integrated resource planning, production cost modeling, and capacity expansion modeling. Subsequent to my presentation, Nepal representatives will present about their experiences. And Mongolia has requested technical assistance on various technological solutions available for space heating in residential sector. So this is being provided. We have planned to provide this technical assistance in the next couple of months or so. So we also invite the developing country representatives or the countries in your circle to approach ALP in case you have any such technical assistance request. And as the COP is member driven, we look forward to your inputs on priority areas and needs. You can provide your feedback in later part of the session today, where we will discuss about the priority areas for 2021. Next. That's the quick introduction about the GRE COP. So here we have the housekeeping rules for today. Participants will be in mute mode for most part of the session. During discussion sessions, participants will be allowed to ask questions or provide inputs. During discussion session, to enable us to unmute, we request you to raise the hand icon. You can see it here, the point 2. So you can just click on to the raise the hand icon. Make sure you unmute yourself as well before speaking. And at any point of time, we encourage you to type in your questions using the question box, the number 3 that you see in the slide. And we request you to please specify who the question is directed to. And if there are any technical difficulty, please feel free to text us. Yeah, next. Yeah. So the next presentation is by Dr. Ram Prasad from Nepal Electricity Regulatory Commission. About him, he is responsible for planning and monitoring institutional development, regulatory and external affairs in the Commission. He is also a spokesperson of the Commission. He has more than 2 decades of experience in RE sector. He also PhD and has authored more than 15 publications. We invite Dr. Ram to share his experience about the technical assistance they have received through ALP's Energy Communities of Practice. Over to you, Dr. Ram. Dr. Ram, you seems to be self-muted. You need to unmute.
Oh, yes. Can you hear me now, Anandan?
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you. Please go on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anandan, and thank you, Asia Leads Partnership, for inviting me to speak on this important topic. Let me thank you all for taking this initiative. In fact, as you rightly mentioned, I'll be focusing more on a small TA that was provided to us by NREL under Asia Lead Partnership Program on integrated resource planning. Why IRP is important, especially to promote renewable energy in our context. I'll be very brief in introducing, sharing you the context first, and then what are the key lessons that we learned from the session that we received from Unreal. Let me. Oh yes, okay. This slide is to show you the current state of electricity in Nepal. And as you can see in the left, electrical energy available in 2019 was about 7,600 gigawatt hour. Almost 39% was generated from the local independent power producers, another 39% from the state-owned utility, and the import was about 22%. Here I focus on two things. One is our installed capacity was 1.3 gigawatt, but mostly from hydro. 96% of our generation was from hydro, only 2% from solar. In the pipeline projects also, as you can see, we've 20 gigawatt survey licenses have been issued for 20 gigawatt. There are 2.5 gigawatt for solar. Under construction project also, out of 8.4 gigawatt, only 80 megawatt is from solar. Access to, in terms of access, 86% of the people have got access electricity from the grid, but 4% from the small hydro, small off-grid isolated systems. But we plan to generate 15 gigawatt by 2028. Right, as in the right-hand side, I've mentioned, hydro and solar are we have huge potential, but in the total energy mix, it contributes only about 4% in the total energy mix. Next. What is the electricity market? Especially institutional aspects. In the left-hand side, as you can see, we have two streams. One from the state-owned side, NEA, the state-owned utility, and its subsidiary companies, and we also have government subsidiary companies for the generations and the investment. Where in the right-hand side, independent power producers and community for small and isolated systems, and we import. The center, as you can see, the Nepal Electricity Authority, responsible for generations, transmission, distribution, and system operator. So very strong vertically integrated utility, but the consumer will get electricity from only one entity, that is called Nepal Electricity Authority. So in this context, in the right hand side, for few questions, how do we develop a competitive market in this existing monopolistic nature of the utility? How to ensure the utility is strong, financially strong, but at the same time public interests are protected, not during the normal time, but also during abnormal period, like we had the earthquake, the recent COVID. So how do we make this? Another one is how to establish a pricing mechanism that will incentivize the RE project developer and non-RE project developer, but at the same time, again, our job is to protect consumers' interests. And the final one is to ensure quality and reliability of the service. Next. Anandan, next, please. Yes, that's why these were the issues. These issues have been there for many years, and the state utility has been involved in generation, transmission, for everything, including procuring power from the generators. So the realization from not only from the government, but the private sectors, consumers, they were advocating, but government also realized, and the parliament also realized, to establish a kind of independent separate entity to regulate the sector. That's how been established we've been in operation since May 2019, based on the Electricity Regulatory Commission Act, which was approved by the Parliament in 2017. The focus is to regulate the generation, transmission, distribution, and trade of electricity by making the process simple, regular, and transparent. We have basically in 4 areas. Under technical regulations, we develop service standards, grid code, and all those things. But one of the key parameter that we are to develop is to develop a list cost expansion plan, expansion in generations, expansion in transmissions. Under economic regulations, generation tariffs, transmission tariff, distribution tariff, and trade. and how do you actually protect the interest of consumers, not only consumers but also investors, by creating condition, by providing access to everybody, in transmission and distribution infrastructure, involving people, community people in every stage of our decision making. But at the same time, we also need to improve the institutional governance of the sector. So how do we do this? By developing uniform standard, uniformity in accounting, reporting, management, all those things. And another key part is we have disputes, for example, disputes between utility and user, utility and power generators. So how do we deal this? So this function also is under ERC's responsibility, and final one is to support, provide policy advice. So here, our thinking is to actually adopt a kind of, since we are very new, adopt a light-handed regulatory means, so that utility should not be in shock. At the same time, the sector stakeholder also should trust that we are moving in the right direction smoothly and gradually. Next. Yes, now I like to mention here two things. One is, so we are new and we've been searching here and there to actually develop this model. Basically, as I was mentioning, light-handed model. What does that mean? Last year I attended I think 2-3 events. One was in Bangkok also, but a few months ago during this COVID period, I attended this economic recovery sessions organized by Asia Lead Partnership Program. There I came to know that planning is the key thing to actually address some of the issues that are being faced by utility, are being faced by investors, making proper decision. So that was the that was the reason we requested Asia Lead Partnership, because NREL is a knowledge hub that we know. So you've got huge resources, not only the the data resources, but also human resources. And when we approach you people, then you could actually help us build our knowledge, enhance our knowledge. That's how we approached you. And then let me thank Karishma and you people to agree. I mean, you agreed our ideas, and then I convinced my team in the commissions, and in the first session our chair was also there. A few colleagues from working team from ERC attended. Basically, again, on two front, we came to know a few analytical tools there, like the product cost modeling, the capacity expansion modeling, and then maybe I'll turn off webcam. Yeah, capacity expansion modeling, and we also need to develop different scenarios, so that when you actually develop hourly dispatch plan, you need to simulate all those informations, the existing generation and transmission informations. Whereas for future generations, future planning, you also need to know the load growth. When you have future scenario, the the cost model and the expansion planning model, then you will be able to actually develop a cost benefit analysis. That way, which technologies, which systems is best fitted for us. So that's how we learned during our I think 2 sessions a few months ago. And we also what is the role, what do we need, why do we need those planning tools for the regulator? Then in the past, utility has been doing this. In our case, we have central planning, especially for the development activities. Then what motivates us to actually be involved in the sector? And we came to know that okay, we let utility develop the model, but the regulator has to actually develop a framework. And then it is a kind of learning process, is the complete cycle. We develop laws and rules, utility has to adopt these things, and they also need to prepare their plan, and then again this will be kind of useful tool for the central the government for making proper plan. But in the meantime, we have existing TA providers. USAID has been very supportive since the beginning of our establishment through their Nepal hydropower development project. We are now implementing. We are in partnership with USAID for another initiative, Urja Nepal. This is a big initiative, but one of the key component again to establish a viable competitive market in electricity sector in Nepal, and regulator has to play major role in making this sector transparent, competitive, and investment friendly. We are getting little support from ADB as well, but we are expecting another big support from MCC, the US government's another initiatives in helping Nepalese power sector. But the final point here, I just wanted to mention, it's been a little more than 1 year since we are active in the sector, but our approach, as I was mentioning in the beginning also, the formulation of light-handed regulatory instruments and institutionalization of ERC. What do we mean by institutionalization? We have, we will be soon recruiting people, but they need, knowledge. So there, your help and USAID, the US government has been very supportive in helping us in institutionalizing our, institutions. Next. Yes. What were the analytical tools that we actually learned during 2 sessions supported by AsiaLeads? One was, I was mentioning production cost modeling, basically to simulate the use of existing generator and transmission facilities. Basically, for the utility, it will help us develop hourly dispatch of each generators, system production cost, and which generator is giving you the best result in terms of cost, in terms of the regular supply, and we also need to identify the congestion point. Where do we need to shut down our projects? So those things we get from production cost modeling, whereas capacity expansion modeling, this is basically for future projects, future generation and transmission projects. So this will help us develop the utility to prepare proper power procurement plan, but at the same time the government also it will help us develop the infrastructure or support develop incentive mechanism to to support investors and the utility in making success, in making the plan successful. We also, as I was mentioning in the beginning, also the scenario analysis for load growth. That means what happens if the GDP grows by 8% or 10%. What are the scenarios? How do we address the situations like COVID or earthquake or any new abnormal situations? So this is another tools. Once we have got all those things, then we actually make a kind of cost benefit analysis over the period of projects, maybe 30 years or 50 years, and then you develop a kind of scenario, or you make a best choice. So by conducting cost benefit analysis. Next. I was mentioning in the beginning also, the role of regulator is to actually develop rules and regulations, right? We have 2 approaches: integrated resource planning and central planning. In the development mode in Nepal, we've been following kind of central planning functions, but we realize ERP is the key, is the key to actually diversify the energy mix. This will be basically done by it has to be done by utility, but approved by the government. That has to be developed by regulator, where we have we actually incorporate the government policy, protect interests and rights of consumers, and these are consumers' interests are linked with generation cost, linked with distribution cost, linked with transmission cost. Otherwise, if the generation cost is high, if the transmission cost is high, if the distribution cost is high, then we need to pay more. So that has to be dealt very carefully. And then the production, the least cost options, both for generations and transmission. And we also need to do a demand assessment and load growth. This has to be done by utility based on approved framework. And as I was mentioning before also, once we have got all those future plan and the existing scenario, then the utility will be able to better plan for their procurement, either from the domestic investors or from international or the cross-border systems. So that has to be done by the utility. Next. These are the issues. For for supply and demand. As you can see in the left and right, how to ensure that the generation mix. In the beginning, I mentioned, our 96-97% generation is dependent on hydro. What if something goes wrong? Then our whole the industries and the capital city will be dark. I mean, that's how we need to develop the different options. What are the key drivers and policy inputs, especially from the government side, right? For example, the electric vehicle, then induction cooker, in our case, then other policy, renewable portfolio standards. All those things needs to be addressed while making plan. But these are key critical issues that we need to do. And as I mentioned before also, how to do sensitivity analysis to address uncertainties such as COVID, earthquake, and other natural disasters, right? For this, we need to do a proper assessment. In case, since we've got a huge potential of hydro, solar, and wind, that needs to be properly done. And then export and import mechanism. Now our plan is to generate 15 gigawatt by 2028, but our demand is low. So how do we actually ensure that Indian electricity regulatory commissions and Indian utilities are seeing our generations? If our cost is a bit high, then we cannot compete with our neighbors. So there you also need to. And then resource need here, I mean, not only financial resource, but again the technical resource, and it has to be linked with both. So grid synchronization, and we have off-grid systems, regional grid, and the national grid. So how do you actually make sure that our systems are compatible with our regional grids? Our systems are national grids compatible with our local grid or the regional grid. So these are especially the technical aspects. And we also have projects and pipeline. So how do you address if things are not going in the right directions? So these things that we learned that we came to know that these are critical points. These are issues that we need to address while making a plan. Yeah. Next. This slide again is just to educate you or aware you about our daily load curve from the maximum maximum demand and the minimum demand, winter and summer season. Here, even during daytime, we actually import from India, both in the summer and winter seasons. So solar can contribute during the daytime to make our peaking reservoir, run-of-river type projects available for peak time. Then hydros are more vulnerable due to natural disasters. So we need to diversify our generation. These are 2 points I just wanted to mention here. Why do we need to diversify our generations? This is applicable not only in our case, but I believe this will be applicable in other part of the world as well. You may have hydro as a base load, but still you need to think for other alternatives. Next. Yes, there was one study. Again, I referred David's slides here. We plan to generate 15 gigawatt by 2028, but is our plan realistic? So what if our forecast is if over forecast leads to more generation. If our plan, if we want to generate more energy, then people need to pay more, right? If you consume, if you fail to consume, if you fail to consume, so that will be a little I mean, this is not a good way of making plan. What if our forecast is if we under forecast the plan, then you need to I mean, you need to make a scheduled load setting plan, right? You cannot provide reliable supply to everybody. There was one study, there is a study done by NREL. Then what they have found is not the technical side of the relation, but the coordinations. When you have improved relations with Indian counterpart, then you could reduce the energy price, generation cost. It also more coordinations resulted in more exports of generations to the northeast part of the India. So these are two things that we actually got to know from David's presentations. Here, my point, key point here is the improved coordinations with Indian counterparts and proper planning are keys to enhance energy security in our context. Next. So what were the learning? Yeah, this is my last slide. I mean, again, the lessons is importance of quality data for resource planning. If your input is not good, then our output will definitely be wrong. So that's why the quality data is key thing. Different scenarios are needed for economic recovery to address disruptions like earthquake and COVID and other unprecedented force measures. Understanding of roles of the key stakeholders in facilitating sector growth, including integrated resource planning. I mean, we also need to know what is the role of regulator. If regulator wants to be involved in everything that utility has been doing, then there will be conflict. So that key, there has to be a role, very clearly defined separation of roles. So this is another thing that we learned. I mean, this has been over the 1.5 years of our experience in regulation as a regulator. I learned that if I know my role properly, then I'll be able to perform in a good way. So this is also one of the another lesson that we learned. So how do we deal these things then? Again, light-handed. We are now saying again, this has been borrowed from NSDP, UCID, NSDP. So light-handed regulatory instruments, not only for traditionally hydro generations, but for promoting variable renewable energy sources projects. So that way you address our recent we issued regulatory instruments, especially for power purchase agreement. Few clauses have been relaxed for if you want to develop a small hydro projects less than 10 megawatt. If you want to promote rooftop solar, the rate has been decided a little high, but we would like to promote solar and other technologies. Then diversification of energy mix to enhance energy security. So how do you do this? Again, through policy interventions, right? The government is now saying 40% should come from runoff river, another 30% from peaking runoff river, and 30% from storage. We have now 10% has to come from variable renewable energy. So that kind of initiative has to come from the government side. Mandatory provision of renewable energy. So those things that we learn. And what is the next steps? And we've been participating in events, webinar and other, but knowledge sharing is the key thing. I'm sure the community knowledge hub is another platform that we could share our ideas, learn from others, and then try to actually replicate in our case. So this much, I guess. The final slide, Anandan, you'd like to show the last thank you. Thank you very much for listening to me. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond. If not today, you can just send me an email You can also browse our website. Our websites are in Nepali, but still, there are a few informations in English as well, but we can respond to you. Thank you. I'm sorry I took a little more time, but hope this is okay.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ram. That was really enlightening and great to hear about, where Nepal stands, and also we always happy to support, of course, the ALP, NREL, and also other partners like the Clean Power Hub team. We're happy to support countries in this regard if we can contribute in any way, in terms of where you want to go. And I would also like to congratulate the ERC on that you have clarity on where do you want to go and what the next steps are. So we would just like to see if anyone from the participants has any questions for Dr. Ram. You could please raise your hand so we will unmute you if you want to speak, or you can also send in questions via the questions box or chat as well. If no immediate questions, we are also happy to circle back to Dr. Ram if you send in your questions to us. Sure. I think Laura, yeah, go on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ram. I really enjoyed your presentation, and I enjoyed working on that technical assistance with you. I had a quick question. If you could only pick a #1 lesson you would tell to another country interested in pursuing an IRP, what would that #1 lesson be and why?
Thank you, Lara. I mean, again, the #1 you said, data is the key thing, and the will, especially the willpower of the utility. At this point, I should say, if utility doesn't want to, do this integrated resource planning, then regulator has to, intervene. So regulator has to develop a framework, and then utility needs to understand why IRP is needed. So especially the functions, understanding. That is again from the regulatory perspective. Regulator has to understand why this is needed. Not this is needed for diversifying the energy mix. This is needed to address the adverse abnormalities. This is needed to actually prepare proper planning for the futures. This is needed to support government initiative of making, in our case, making a prosperous Nepal and happy Nepali.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Ram. Yeah, if no other questions, do we have another question, Anandan?
No, Nikhil.
Okay, sure. Yeah, we can circle back again. So thank you, and now we can move on. So again, given that this group is a member-driven platform, and we would also, of course, like to have your inputs and see topics of interest, that your countries are working on. So in the next session, the next presentation rather, we would focus on the topics that we have planned for this group, the commentary of practice, and also we want to get feedback from you. So we request you to please again share your feedback. We have some polls coming up. We will now move on, and Laura will be presenting now. Laura is an energy policy researcher at NREL, and her work focuses on clean energy transitions. She's also working on providing technical assistance to a number of Asian countries as well as to islands and remote communities. She also dabbles in energy access and energy burden. Over to you, Laura.
Thanks, Nikhil. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am really excited about what 2021 brings for our community of practice. Thank you for participating in everything in 2020. I know it was a really weird year, and we have enjoyed spending time with you, even if it's virtually. So if I could have the next slide, please. Thank you. Like this year, in 2021, we'll be having two priority topics: distributed energy resources, or DER, and then resilient energy systems and economic recovery. Like most of 2020, we will have most of our activities, or all of them, pending how the world looks, in a virtual format. And we'll be doing webinars, technical assistance, peer exchanges, resource sharing, training workshops, the whole 9 yards. Again, all virtual. And then the ALP forum is returning this year. So the Asia-led Partnership Forum, very exciting. It hasn't been for a few years now. And that will also be virtual sometime in the first quarter of 2021. So keep your eyes open for more information about that. And now I'll go into details on our two priority topics. So if I could have the next slide, please. Thanks. So the first priority topic is going to be distributed energy resources, which you may know are a growing class of technologies installed behind the meter, so solar and others. And we will be talking about the policy and regulatory frameworks, about the technologies, about business models, etc. And you might be going, this is a grid renewable energy community of practice. Why are we talking about distributed energy resources? They're not grid scale. Well, we've heard from some members that they are becoming more and more relevant, and we want to help energy practitioners stay informed and be ready for when DER is more relevant in your jurisdictions. That's why we're focusing on distributed energy. And now, to help us better plan for how we are going to approach this priority topic, we have a couple of poll questions. So Nikhil, I think you are going to put those up. Yeah. Great. So just to start out, are you aware of distributed energy resources, just the concept on a scale of A to E, or 1 to 5, I guess, if you've heard about it, to you know it super well. This is to help us get an idea of where all of our members are in the DER concept so we can better adjust our work. So Nikhil, I'll leave it up to you to decide when to move on to the next question.
Sure. Yeah, we can just maybe wait for 30 seconds.
Okay, that sounds great.
Yeah, again, attendees can just select the radio button and provide your input, please.
Great. So it looks like we're kind of all over the place, but more people are in the middle, and that is great. So thank you for answering that poll. We have another question. So for this one, what do you think is the best way to build capacity on this topic? Choose one. So which of these methods of interacting with the community of practice do you think is the best way for you to learn about DER? again, this will really help us figure out how to make the community of practice the most useful for you and the best use of your time.
Sure. We'll have the results out shortly.
Okay. So it looks like peer-to-peer learning exchanges is pretty popular, which is great because we will talk about how the Clean Power Hub will play into that. So for a third question, Mikkel, if you're ready. So what specific subtopics or priorities under the DER priority are you most interested in? DER tech, how to incentivize adoption, operating power systems planning, or business models. And then if you have a different suggestion from these 5 options, we could only put 5 options in the poll. Please feel free to put that in the chat, or you are welcome to email myself or ALP if you have other ideas or suggestions. We would love to hear it. Great. Okay, so business models that enable DER is popular. That's good to know. Thank you for answering those 3 polls. And then I have 2 other questions to ask. They're open-ended, so you don't have to vote in a poll. So for my first open-ended question, if I could have the next slide. Does your country have any success stories or best practices related to DER that you would be willing to share with the co-op? And then also, if you're interested in sharing your experiences, in what format are you most interested in participating in the community practice? So would you be willing to share in a webinar or do a peer-to-peer exchange, etc.? And you can throw that answer into the chat box, or you are, again, free to email myself or ALP. And we would love to hear from you and hear from your successes or any lessons you may have learned from non-successes. So I'll give it about a minute to see if anybody thinks of anything they'd like to share.
Sure. Again, please let us know if you want to speak. Raise your hands and raise your hand or either type in chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. If you want to share over voice, that works too. We just want to hear from you. Okay. Nicole, let's do the next question.
Sure.
And then, is there a country you'd like to learn from regarding DER? So, do you know of any success stories of your neighbors who might, do you know any success stories for your neighbors that might be interesting to you that you think you could learn from? Again, you can put that in the chat. You can talk if you raise your hand. You can also share with myself or ALP later. And I will be doing a follow-up email and ask some of these questions as well. Just to reinforce that we are really looking to learn from each other and learn from you all. And that was the most popular option for how to learn about DER, was peer-to-peer. So that's why we're asking this question.
Yeah, would be great if we could get inputs, because this would help us, structure activities and also ensure this proper matchmaking between countries. Again, we are happy to post these questions on chat, and maybe you can also mull over it and let us know what chat. We can also circle back to this.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole.
Can I just
Yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Laura, sorry, I heard Costa Rica has demonstrated the clean energy, distributed energy resources. So we like to get our ideas or publish papers from Costa Rica. That's what I heard from one of the meeting I attended, and Costa Rica has done great in making distributed energy and clean energy in their national energy mix.
Yeah, they definitely have. Thank you for that suggestion, Dr. Ram. So the countries that you'd like to learn from, again, don't have to be from the Southeast Asian region. Thank you for the suggestion. Okay, let's move on to talk about resilience. If I could have the next slide, please. So our second priority topic will be resilient energy systems and economic recovery. We define resilience as the ability to anticipate, prepare for, and adapt to changing conditions and withstand, respond to, and recover rapidly from disruptions through adaptable and holistic planning and technical solutions. So this is especially relevant, the economic recovery part of this, due to COVID. And I am very excited about this topic, especially because it's a really, really nebulous topic. Resilience can mean a lot of different things to different practitioners, different countries. So with that being said, we are interested in understanding what resilience means to you and what you want to learn about a resilient energy system. So we have a couple more poll questions to help guide what our work will look like in 2021. Again, it's so that we can best help and best work with you all. So I think we have one question through GoToPoll. Right, so this is like a question we had for DER. What do you think is the best way to build capacity on this topic? Please choose one.
Yeah, we'll flash the results in a minute.
Perfect. Thank you. So it looks like technical assistance is a very popular way to build capacity on this topic. And we are planning on doing some technical assistance about resilient energy systems and economic recovery. So that is good to hear. Thank you for that input. And then we have two open-ended questions. Again, you can answer in the chat box, email me, email ALP, or talk out loud. Just raise your hand. So what are specific subtopics about resilient energy systems and economic recovery that you want to learn about. Open-ended, I really would like to know what resiliency means to you. So if you have any ideas, please share, or you can think on it and share later. Okay.
Yeah, we can maybe move on to the next one.
I think so. This is just like last time. Does your country have any success stories or best practices related to resilient energy systems and economic recovery that you'd like to share with the community practice? Again, in what form would you be interested in sharing that experience? They also don't have to be success stories. We can learn from non-successes as well. I'll give it a minute. Again, feel free to email me later. And then our last question, is there a country you'd like to learn from regarding resilient energy systems and economic recovery? Do you know of any success stories that might be interesting to you? So I think I'm going to wrap up my portion of this webinar if nobody has anything they'd like to talk about. But for both priority topics or just about the community practice in general, please feel free to contact myself or ALP with questions, comments, concerns, ideas, answers to these poll questions. We really would like to hear from you. So thank you for your time. I think I'm going to pass it off to Graham from Propel Clean Energy. So thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, we again request everyone to just send in your responses via chat. We have posted the questions there as well. So before Graham begins, maybe an introduction to Graham. Graham Pugh is principal and co-founder of Propel Clean Energy Partners. Propel provides us it deals in provision of support and consulting services on clean energy initiatives internationally. One of the major projects is the Clean Power Hub development, which we would learn about a lot more in this session, in this presentation. Graham has 3 decades of experience in the field, and he also has worked with the U.S. Department of Energy as well. Along with Graham, we'll also have Jessica speaking. Jessica is an associate with Propel Clean Energy Partners. She's mainly supporting the Clean Power Hub work, and also she's working on capacity building and integrating innovations in online learning. Jess has also worked with the US Department of Energy as well, and also on capacity building initiatives before this. Over to you, Graham and Jess.
Thank you very much. And it's a real pleasure to be here virtually with all of you from the ALP team and the participants. We're very excited to share a new product with you that we think is a new concept that will actually help to address the delivery of practical knowledge and skills that really bridges the gap between the different types of knowledge delivery that were just addressed in the survey, whether you want it in person, whether you want it via webinars, these sorts of things. So very happy to tell you about this product. Propel is managing the development of the Clean Power Hub with support from CIF, the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, working closely with our partners from NREL and also with the Grantham Institute at Imperial College London. Next slide, please. So we'll go through these slides very quickly. I just would like to commend for your reading a new release from the International Energy Agency that's called Renewables 2020. And the news actually on renewables is now quite exciting. I mean, it's been exciting for a while, but one of the things we know is that COVID has impacted the energy sector a great deal, but renewables seem to have been quite resilient to COVID impacts and continue to do quite well. The IEA has traditionally been quite conservative on these kinds of issues about how well renewables would do against conventional generation. But the IEA's estimate is now that renewables generation will surpass coal in 2025. I've showed the graph here, which is actually capacity, not generation, but this is capacity for wind and solar, which is the green line. And you can see the extremely rapid growth compared to hydropower, coal, natural gas. So this shows the capacity exceeding all of these in 2024. And then there's data actually about the generation will exceed that in 2025. Most new power today is coming from renewables. I know that is not broadly the case in South and Southeast Asia, but globally that is the case, that most new power is coming from renewables. And if we go to the next slide, we can see that in fact, variable renewable energy integration is no longer theoretical, it's happening around the world. This data is actually a few years old, and so the percentages are even higher for many different countries. But what you can see is, of course, we've always heard about Denmark and Germany and a few others, but if you look at regions or countries that are not just in Europe or states in the US, but South Australia, Uruguay, provinces in China, we have a number of countries that are integrating larger and larger shares of variable renewable energy. And so we know that this can be done, and we just need to drive it faster in order to achieve our clean energy goals, which are really focused on addressing climate change, but also addressing air quality, which is, as many of you know and experience, a huge problem in our lives, and also, as Ram mentioned, resilience, having multiple sources located at different locations and of different types increases resiliency. So the next slide, please. So to get now to what we think is the exciting part of the Clean Power Hub. So when you talk about a knowledge platform, most of us think that, okay, this is like a knowledge hub, it's like a library, you have a lot of resources. The difference between a library and a Google search is that the library, the materials have been reviewed and sort of have the stamp of approval, but they're still not necessarily all at the same level, or they might be very complicated, or there might be many resources and difficult to sort through. So what we're trying to do is, based on our learning about knowledge hubs, and also based on our learning about in-person technical assistance. So Dr. Ram spoke highly about the technical assistance on the IRP. That is absolutely wonderful support. It's essential support, but it's expensive, it's hard to access. And we know in the time of COVID, it was of course limited by the ability of people to travel. So we want to find a way to combine the best of the in-person technical assistance and then this sort of virtual learning that we've all been doing a lot more of in this time of COVID. So what we are trying to do with the Clean Power Hub is to demystify and streamline the work. We're very practically oriented. It's about the work. It's not about just learning. It's about getting the clean power transition done. We curate existing resources into clear, practical how-to guides. So not just saying, here's a relevant resource and you have 150 pages and you have to sort through what's right for you, but the basic, like, here's what you should do, start with this and then move to this and then move to this. And then we provide easy, free access to people who can help in a variety of formats. So we'll talk more about that, but there's a very important role for the people in this community of practice to play in terms of creating that access to peer groups. Next slide, please. Oh, one back. One more. There we go. So we have a very broad mandate. So we're talking about planning. We're talking about policy making and regulation and grid operations, both at the system and distribution level. We also are talking about the investment and project development and even the effective communication and advocacy piece, because all of these are necessary for advancing clean power. Even we all play our parts in different organizations, but all of these need to work together. And if you think about, I mean, what we're trying to do is address the common issues you may face. And when I read through these, you might recognize some of them. You have limited time and immediate needs. You need to figure out what to do and how to do it. In many cases, maybe you're on staff in a ministry or in a utility, and your boss tells you, I need to know about what would be the best DERs for our situation. Can you come back in 2 weeks and tell me about it? Well, you could do a lot of research on that, but if you go to the Clean Power Hub, you get very succinct, actionable guides about what's available and what's involved in implementing them. So as I just said, you face a lack of practical and easily digestible materials. You often cannot access what you need when you need it. That's particularly true of in-person technical assistance. I mean, maybe you need this information in 2 weeks, but you can't access an expert to tell you what you need in that short period of time. You may be onboarding new staff. You need skills development for colleagues or background for stakeholders. You know, if you're doing an IRP, there are a lot of people who are very interested parties. Dr. Ram talked about rate setting and things, right? People want to be involved in these decisions, right? So you need to be able to communicate with stakeholders. You find that online search, as I said, even if it's well curated, like through a Knowledge Hub, can often flood you with information, and it's very difficult to get the practical value out of it. And sometimes, as you well know, as a community of practice, you don't always want to talk to an expert. Sometimes you just want to talk to a peer. So these are the things that we're trying to address through the Clean Power Hub. Jess is going to take you through a demonstration of the hub right now and speak to you about the really important role that I think this community can play in helping us to develop the hub, and hopefully we'll find that the hub is not only useful to you, but you are useful to the hub as well and to others who come to use it. So thank you, and I'll pass to Jess now.
Awesome, thanks, Graham. And I'm wondering, could I be, oh yeah, awesome, made a presenter. Great, okay. I can see that you're seeing my screen, which is awesome. So thanks, Graham, and hi, everyone. It's so nice to virtually meet all of you. Unfortunately, my video isn't working, but that's okay because we really just want you to focus on the Clean Power Hub anyway. So we're really excited to show you the site today, and in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk through and demonstrate some of the Clean Power Hub's key features, but I really won't be able to go through all of them. So we please encourage you to visit the Clean Power Hub after this call to look and to really click around yourself. And as Graham said, our job is really to make this as useful as possible for you. So we really do want to hear your feedback and your thoughts either on this call or after the call. And if you have any questions as I'm going through this demonstration, please post them in the chat feature. Or you can also just yell at me if I'm scrolling too fast and there's something that you want to see. Again, so with that, let's begin. So what you're seeing right now is a version of the Clean Power Hub that we just released last week. And the focus of the Clean Power Hub is really on you and the work that you're doing. So what are you working on? In this first example, let's say you're a power system operator and you have been tasked with making recommendations to leadership on what system flexibility measures you should implement to enable greater shares of renewable energy. You need to know what to recommend, and the Clean Power Hub can help you form these recommendations. So if you don't know a lot about power system flexibility measures, then you can start here. And the goal of the Clean Power Hub is really action and to give you what you need to take the next step in your job. So to get you to that next step, you're provided with the key information you need to know at the top of the page. And then you'll see excerpts of the world's best resources from leading organizations on the subject that provide you with just enough information for you to be able to take this next step. These resource excerpts provide you really with what you need to know quickly and with all information in one place. If you're interested in accessing more information and let's say the full report of where this excerpt came from, then you can also do that by clicking the link and the full report will appear for you to read through. And then the Clean Power Hub makes your knowledge actionable by suggesting what you can do next with this section here for the suggested actions and next steps. So you can really start doing the work that you need to do to make progress in your job. But if you get stuck or you need help, the Clean Power Hub also connects you with either a leading international expert or with one of your peers. And I'll talk more about this soon. But let's say that you don't need all of this background information. You just need quick guidance to narrow down what flexibility measures are right for your power system. In this case, you can skip all of these introductory sections and go straight to finding the right flexibility measure for you. So now you'll see a list of all possible flexibility options. And if you have the time, you can go and you can explore each one. But to save you time, the Clean Power Hub can narrow down your options through these smart filters. So let's say you're a system operator and you're really interested in operational changes that you can make because you know that they're most often least cost and you can implement them pretty quickly. The Clean Power Hub narrows down your options for the ones that are most relevant for you. So let's say out of this short list, you're interested in how you can improve your generation forecasting. Now what you want to know is really, is this option right for you? So here, through excerpts, again, from leading expert resources, you're given just enough information to understand the option, its applicability, and also its strengths and limitations. And next, you need to decide, is this option right for me? And the Clean Power Hub provides you with suggestions to help you make that decision. And if you decide that, yes, you do want to move ahead with this flexibility measure, then the Clean Power Hub also provides you with resources on how you can get started. But if you're not sure if this is the right option for you, or if you have any questions on implementing this option, the Clean Power Hub provides more opportunities to speak either with your peers or with experts. And I'll go into more detail on these now. So if you want to figure out whether this is the right option for you by speaking with your peers, which it sounds like many of you are interested in that, particularly with DERs, then you can go to the Clean Power Hub community. And the Clean Power Hub community is a forum where you can ask and answer questions. You can also share your insights and knowledge and connect with your colleagues both in your country and region and others around the world. So if you do want to ask your peers about how they improve their generation forecasting, you can sign up for the community and post your questions here. But if you think your question requires more in-depth assistance, you can also use the Clean Power Hub's Ask an Expert service. And this service is very similar to other Ask an Expert services you may be familiar with, where you can receive one-on-one technical assistance at no cost from clean power experts across the globe. So in summary, from this first example, the Clean Power Hub helps you make informed decisions and get your work done, gives you tangible and practical suggestions on how to take your work forward, and gets you access to the experts or peers who can help you troubleshoot any specific questions that you may have. So now I'm going to cover a second example of how the Clean Power Hub can support your work. So let's say you do know what you need to do, but you have questions on how to do it. So let's say that you're a power systems analyst and you've been asked to lead up a new grid integration study effort. So maybe you've contributed to previous grid integration studies and may be familiar with them, but this is your first time leading the effort. Or maybe this is your first experience with a grid integration study and you just don't know where to start. From inception to scoping, to defining your study's objectives, collecting data, running the model, and then sharing the results both privately and publicly. The Clean Power Hub accelerates your progress by giving you a work plan to follow. And so you can either follow along step by step, or you can choose where you are right now and what you're working on. So let's say that you're organizing and convening stakeholder groups. Again, the goal of the Clean Power Hub is to get you what you need to act and to take the next step. So you're given the need-to-know information right up top, which is again all supported by relevant excerpts from leading expert resources. And then next, you're provided with suggested actions and next steps, which in many ways function as the deliverables within the larger work plan. And again, you're offered access to practitioners and experts who can help. So through these features, the Clean Power Hub gives you an accessible plan to help you think through and organize your work, onboards you with just enough information to help you get what you need to take the next step, and that could be through access to effective templates, tools, and resources that speed your work along, and then also gives you access to experts or peers who can help troubleshoot any specific questions you may have. And so that is a quick demonstration of the Clean Power Hub and what it can do for you and how it can support your work. And we will be releasing more guides in the coming weeks and months ahead in partnership with NREL and other leading organizations. So we encourage you to sign up to stay informed of new releases. And again, we just want to emphasize that the Clean Power Hub was built to serve you and your needs. So our job is really to make sure that it delivers what you're looking for and to make it as useful as possible for you. So please get in touch with us either through the ALP or the Clean Power Hub website to provide us with any feedback that you have. And also, I think we'll talk more about this. Please sign up for the Clean Power Hub community, which we hope will be a very useful forum for your community of practice. So with that, we're happy to take and answer any questions that you have now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jess. Yeah, I think before we get into questions, so Karishma would be moderating that and helping us with that. So an introduction to Karishma. Karishma is working at NREL as a technical project lead. She has nearly 2 decades of work experience and has been focusing on providing technical assistance to a number of technical countries, focusing on clean energy planning and strategy. She's worked on a range of subtopics therein on microgrids, feasibility and techno-economic analysis, power sector transformation, resilience planning, and others as well. Over to you, Karishma.
Thank you, Nikhil. And thank you all for joining. I think we still have a few more minutes, and you know, we'd love to hear from this group. I did chat. It is saying that my connection is slow, so I'm going to turn off my webcam for a minute. But I did chat a question to see how many of you have visited the Clean Power Hub before this call, and no one chatted back. So maybe, Randika, if you are on the call, we'd love to hear from you. I know you spent some time looking through the website. And if you have any comments or takeaways or suggestions for the rest of this group, I think that might be helpful to just get us started. And then maybe others can start thinking about questions they might have or ways that this community of practice can engage and leverage the Clean Power Hub.
Hello, Karishma, and hello, everyone. I'm Randika here, and I'm from Sri Lanka and currently working at the state-owned utility as a generation planning engineer. And I'm really happy to be a part of this session, this important workshop, and as well as the being a member of the community of practice. Well, I thought I must share some remarks on the newly launched initiative, the Clean Power Hub, and how it can support us in the work we are doing. Actually, as a planning engineer, I have been engaging in long-term planning, preparation of long-term plans of the utility of the country, as well as the renewable integration studies. We have done multiple rounds of those studies, but I must mention it took a lot of effort and time and effort to the design and develop those studies and to the data, all the way from the data collection, simulation, modeling, and so on. So to do all the work and to enhance those studies year by year, actually it took so much effort, and it took so much the literature survey and referring to a lot of case studies, exchanging knowledge between the other industry partners, as well as the trainings and so on. So even it took so much effort to enhance the capacity among ourselves within our teams. So that is why I think this newly launched initiative, the exciting, the Clean Power Hub, it's now going to be to support all that work in a very effective manner, and importantly, very convenient manner, because it is, it's kind of one-stop shop, providing insights and solutions, as well as references for our planning work, and because it provides not only support for the planners like us, but it provides support for the policymakers, the high-level decision makers, system operators, and investors, and so on, and to get more insight on the challenges and the opportunities there in developing the clean energy technologies. So what is more exciting about this Clean Power Hub is it not only covers one area, but it covers multiple areas: planning, operation, policy, and financing, and so on. And it at a glance, it provides very quick answers to some of the very common questions that we share as planners and practitioners. And well, for an example, if I am to perform a grid integration study, if I can go to the Clean Power Hub and I can dive deep into the that work area, there I can access to a very nice step-by-step guide to how to structure a good integration study, and to refer some of the case studies, how to define the policy scenarios rightly, and also importantly, it provides the direct links to the data sources, which is a very important, a wonderful feature. And not only the NREL, to some other reputed international institutions also, and even if that guides and resources are not enough to address our specific problems, it will provide a chance to reach our peer groups and expert assistance at no cost. It is a wonderful thing, that because conducting studies are actually always a problem-solving task. So we face a lot of problems in different activities of a study. So, and now, because of most of the system are making effort to conduct integration studies, I think to address their own specific needs, I think this exciting initiative I think I'm strongly believe that it is going to do a part of our job, making our life easy for providing all the guidance and resources. And I really look forward to see to what it can offer us in the time to come, and also to continue to engage with the platform. And I encourage everyone in the planning as well as other aspects of the clean power energy development to have a look at the platform and to see how it can benefit us, because it's definitely making our lives easier. Thank you, Karishma.
Thank you so much, Andika. I had a few notes typed up to bring up, but I think you covered all of the topics really well. We're almost out of time, but I just wanted to highlight that, peer-to-peer learning and knowledge exchange was sort of the most preferred method, at least given this COVID situation, to engage as a community. And I think the Clean Power Hub will be a really nice addition to all the other tools and technical access to technical assistance that the ALP provides community of practice members, and the very targeted work that the community of practice does with all of you to support champions in the region, to support just reaching targets and access to new people, and just the continued engagement with each other. And so if there are questions, we welcome them in the chat. We will continue this conversation, but in the interest of time, I'm going to hand it back to Nikhil to close out this discussion. Nikhil?
Yeah, thank you, Karishma. Thank you, Andika, as well, for your feedback on the Clean Power Hub. Yes, just before we close, a few thoughts and also next steps. So all the presentation and the materials in this session, they'll be shared with you via email and also posted online. We encourage you to please share this with your colleagues to also share about the Clean Power Hub, and of course also on the priority topics that this group wants to that we are planning to engage in the coming year. Also would be great if you can share Nepal's story and the experience that we've had with collaborating with Nepal. We look forward to working with a number of your countries as well. We'd be really happy to support on any priorities and needs. So yeah, but the key point there is we really need to hear back from you. So we had posted a number of questions, and if you could again get back, we will reach out over email as well. And if you can respond and let us know, that would be of great help. So we can also learn about what is going on ground in your countries and where specific support is needed. So that's it from our side. You can, of course, write to us and also for any queries, for any assistance that's needed. And we will also be sharing details of the Clean Power Hub again, so you can sign up there as well. Lastly, if you have not joined the community of practice as yet, though I believe most of the attendees here have, so again, we encourage you to please join and also ask your colleagues and peers to join as well. Thank you. I think that's it from our end. So thank you again for taking out the time for attending today and also sharing any inputs with us. We'll reach out and we'll keep in touch from our end. Thank you, everyone. We'll close the session now.
Thank you, Nikhil.
Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day.